Hello veg lovers, and welcome to my little garden yet again. Now today I thought I'd discuss fruit more than vegetables, and how many different varieties of fruit you can fit in a small plot. You'll be surprised at how many you can actually fit in to grow in your garden, which again, they're so easy to grow. There's nothing really you have to do about them. If you're limited on space, time, you name it, there's a fruit that will go in there that you don't have to really do much with, and you'll get an abundance of crops at the end of it. In my little garden I've got 11 different fruits, and it's so easy for them to fit into any size garden. If you've got a large garden, brilliant, you can grow lots of trees, lots of fruit bushes, you can do a lot with. But even in a small garden, you can cram in quite an amazing amount of variety of fruit in order to get a lovely crop at the end of the season. So I'll show you my 11 that I've got in my garden, and I'm sure you'll think of others that you can put in yours. We've got Lily joining me again for this little garden episode, aren't we, Lily? Yes, she does love being out. Today very much is the first real day of spring, I would say. Well, the last couple of days have been, it's nice and warm, it's lovely, and all somebody wants to do is sunbathe, don't you, sweetie? Now let's go to the first fruit. Obvious one, apples. Now this apple tree was originally in a pot, and it was a patio. It was sold as a patio apple tree. And when I moved here, I brought it with me and I planted it in the garden here. And what I do with it to keep it to a reasonable light, I just keep it well trimmed at the end of the season, in the autumn or early spring before any leaves on. I'll give it a clip to keep it well in a height that you can actually reach the apples. Because next door's an apple tree, and if you look at next door's apple tree, it's very tall, and that means it's a nightmare to get any apples until they all fall off, generally all in my garden, which could make some cider with or something, as they're not as tasty apples as these I've got here. But this is number one, and I think it's something that you can actually have just on a patio. You could just have a patio one in a tub, and you can keep it trained and keep it small. Same when you plant it though, you can keep it trained and keep it small, and you can also train them up against walls, trellises, to make more space in your garden if you haven't got the space for it to branch out like this one. Next, an obvious one, blueberries. Everybody should have a blueberry. I've got 3 different blueberries, and I keep them in pots. Keep the soil acidic, keep it with ericaceous compost in there, and you generally get a decent crop. And as we can see, we've got lots of little flowers and things on these, so hopefully we'll get a good crop off those in the summer. And the same with the other 2 I've got in there as well. So 3 blueberries in this garden, all in their own pots. And we've got raspberries here. Now these are just starting to leaf up. This is a raspberry bush, not a cane raspberry. Now cane raspberries are good. I've got some of those at the bottom as well. Cane raspberries are good if you've got some more upright space in which to grow. The bush type is nice because it's thornless and can just sort of grow to a reasonable size if you've got a decent amount. A big bucket will do, something that's got enough space for it to be able to branch out and produce that fruit. And this one does wonderfully. This is another raspberry here as well. This one I only recently planted. This is going to be another bush, and I've kept this in this pot. So I love raspberries. I can never get enough raspberries, so more the better for me. So I'm going to grow this one in a pot. It's about the right size. It doesn't grow enormous. So this is another one I would recommend for a patio, balcony or tiny garden. And you get lots and lots of lovely raspberries growing off these. Now this is strawberries, of course. This particular variety is called marshmallow, that I've got growing in this planter. And this planter is specifically for strawberries, so it takes up very little room, and you can grow quite a few strawberries in it. So I would recommend getting some kind of planter that doesn't take up a great deal of space. And then you can have strawberries on your patio in your small garden. Along with the raspberries, then you know that it's wonderful to have that kind of fruit in just a small space. A few feet of space could give you a lot of fruit. I've also grown them in pots here, so you can just, you know, put a few in pots. And also at the bottom of the garden, you will have seen earlier ones I've planted, again just in small pots, because strawberries, they will make themselves at home in most places. Now this was the guava I planted. Now I'll have to see how this goes. I mean, because this is obviously not something I've ever grown before. Again, I put it in a pot and I'll keep it trained in a pot. Don't need lots of space. I mean, it will grow probably quite big in years to come, but I'll keep that trimmed. You can keep most things trimmed and keep them contained in pots. And you can either then plant them up into a garden space if you've got space to do that, or put them in a bigger pot, or just keep them in the size they are. Just periodically, you know, top up the compost, give them a feed. That's all you have to do with them, and let them do their own thing. This one apparently goes down to temperatures, I think it was about -6, -7, something like that. So it should be fine here. If it gets a very cold winter, then I'll just cover it or move it somewhere a bit more sheltered for the time being. Now this is a honeyberry. Not one commonly seen, but it has little yellow flowers that are under the leaves, as you can see there. And then they develop into a very dark, nearly black fruit, which sometimes can be an unusual shape. They can be sort of more rectangular than round. And I haven't got any coming on yet, but there is going to be some from the flowers that I've got. I never get many on this because I think it's where it is. It's positioned in a corner that's a bit dark. So if you've got dark corners, you know, it wants some light really, so it could do with moving. But we've got some, we'll get some fruit on it this year, and obviously later in the year I can show you what the fruit is like. It's very high in antioxidants and vitamin C. It might be more beneficial even than blueberries, so it is worth growing if you have the space to grow it. Again, this is in a half barrel, so it doesn't take up a great deal of space. Up the corner here is the goji berries I planted in the last videos. You will have seen before on this, the video I've done on goji berries. They are a little bit rampant, so like I say, just be wary of them. Keep them potted up unless you've got a very, very large garden, and you will hopefully be rewarded with lots of fruit in years to come. Now this is the pomegranate I planted. Again, this is not something I've ever planted before. I didn't even know we could grow pomegranates in the UK, but we apparently can. And I think they're cold tolerant to about -15 or something. They're really quite hardy, which is really something we had never even considered. And this is now, it's starting to grow nice. It's got new leaves come on it, which is nice to see. And I'm really looking forward to see actually what happens with this over the coming year. I mean, obviously these are only just planted, so they're not going to, they were planted like a month ago, so they're not really going to do anything this year, I wouldn't have thought. But it'd be nice just to see how they grow. Again, keep it contained in a pot. They do grow big, so, and they're very bushy too. So if you keep them trimmed and potted, I know it sort of then means you don't get as much fruit as you would do normally, but you will get some fruit in a small space, which is really what we're looking for. Next on my list is black currant. Now this one, I forgot what it's called. It's Ben something. I'll put it below when I find out what it is, Ben something. And these have bigger, juicier, sweeter fruit than most other black currants. Now I've put this here, I planted it here. I wasn't sure whether this is going to be right for it because it's a bit shaded in this particular place, but it seems to it's got new leaves. It's obviously got little bits of flowers to come on to fruit, so we will get a bit of fruit. I planted this last year and I was a bit concerned about whether I should move it, actually dig it up and move it and put it somewhere a bit lighter. It's also sort of got mixed up with the chives that are growing around here too. But I'll see what happens this year with it. I mean, if it looks all right, grows and bears some fruit, then I'll leave it here, because I don't like to move things unless I have to. But another one well worth growing, and I would recommend you do pot this up if you grow this and get some lovely black currants. Well, the last two I've got is obviously, I've got the plum tree, which again, perhaps for this size garden, I think is pretty good to grow a plum, and a fig next door to it here. And the fig is always does wonderfully every year. So that is in a really good spot here. For some reason, it just seems to like it. As I was saying previously with the plum, I'm not sure if we're going to get some plums, but it looks like we are. I can see some flowers that have been probably pollinated. So hopefully we'll get some plums as well. So there we go. That's the fruit I have in my garden. 11 lots of fruit in a smallish garden, and which includes 3 trees, which I think is pretty awesome in a small spot. Bushy ones and straight growing ones, all kinds. There are so many different varieties of fruit you can try in a small garden. Don't be put off and think because you've got a small plot or a small backyard or whatever that you can't grow fruit. Everybody can grow fruit. It's just a matter of picking the right size pot, the right size fruit, and to make sure that obviously if it's in a pot, that you keep it watered and fed. But other than that, it's very, very simple to take care of them. So if you're a busy person, you're working, or you haven't got the time to mess about with other vegetables and things, then fruits are probably a really good way to go. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully as summer ramps up. Bye, veg lovers.